That's funny. Oh, snap. Both hearts in the building. What's going on, Square? Hello, hello. Oh, what are we checking out? What do we have? I got a good one. Yeah, I got a good one. We'll put a pause on this one right here. Got a good one. Got a good one. At least I think it's a good one. It may not be, but how the U.S. won the space race, Apollo 17. Yeah. Oye, chuleta, buenos días. Buenas tardes, amigo. ¿Cómo anda usted? This is we're going to go for about an hour like I normally do. I'm going to continue working on the Ed, and Eddie piece. Good afternoon, everyone. Excuse me. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Bot10 Art. It's my weekly live stream. Daily live stream. Nightly live stream. It's just whenever I'm on and I'm working. Whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. That's funny.
We could increase the intensity of these lights here, because that's what gets me all the views, right?
There you go. Or it just helps, my friends to see me. So yeah, we're gonna work on this. We're gonna watch this video. It's about 55 minutes long. It deals with space, of course. You know me. I love all that stuff. The Drew in this piece is perfect. This one needs to be in the studio. All right. Okay. Yeah, of course it works better like this. You know what I mean? So when you see the whole piece, they're all like drooling on each other. But just for drawing purposes and for viewing purposes, you guys can see the print sideways. Yeah, that's what I was saying yesterday. This is like, you know how I am, man. I create artwork that I like. You know what I mean? And it's like, if someone else, like if my artwork resonates with someone else, then awesome, man. That's great. Mission accomplished, right? Because this is visual arts, and visual artists communicate through visual art. Mind blown, bro. And so I draw what I like, man. I'm not like this artist, that artist, fan artist. Like, no, dude, I'm an artist. I create what I feel. And for me, Cartoon Network is a huge thing. Cartoons in general are an even bigger thing. Because I obviously am an older gentleman, and I came from the Looney Tune era, Warner Brothers, all those cartoons. Growing up, all those cartoons were very important to me. Bugs Bunny, Yosemite Sam, the Roadrunner, like Daffy Duck, all of it. I grew up with all that, and I love all of it. Tom and Jerry, Scooby-Doo. Yeah, all of those. And so, yeah, Cartoon Network. I was a Cartoon Network kid for sure. Yeah, after school, weekends, yeah, that's your jam, right? Like just Saturday morning cartoons, grab that old box of cereal, and you know what I mean? And enjoy some funnies, man. Like, to me, cartoons are the best because they really, they really capture, the societal nuances, right, of humankind. So like anything and everything that is, a trait of human nature is going to be in a cartoon. It's going to be, expressed to us back to ourselves in a cartoon. And so, yeah, the ridiculousness of, Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, like, It was brilliant. It was brilliant. Well, Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. Yeah, of course, Nickelodeon as well. I grew up with Nickelodeon. Um, I was there like I was there in the what do you call that? The conception of Nickelodeon. So you can't do that on television. All of it, like all the way through the modern time. So like Clarissa explains it all. Freaking all that, which we've talked about time and time again. Just all of these, all of these shows, same thing. Salute Your Shorts. I was there for all of it. And so Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, it's all in the DNA, bro. And so it's a beautiful thing for me when Ed and Eddie came out because my son was just at that right age, that perfect age where, like, man, if this cartoon did not speak to him, because everything that I was watching in Ed and Eddie, it was like, oh my god, this is so stupid, so ridiculous. But it's like, yep, it was me growing up, and it was him growing up, and so that's what I loved. I loved just watching Ed and Eddie with my boy, and we're laughing, and so this one's a little bit near and dear to the heart. I'm gonna do this piece and print one out for him and just give it to him so he has a copy of it, and so I want I want everybody to feel the same way. So like if you're a fan of Cartoon Network and Ed and Eddie, and it's like, dude, I made this print for you guys. I made this print for us. I made this print for me, and so I want to be able to share that. And so a lot of people a lot of people get on me about the prices of my prints, and like basically they're saying I should charge more or this and that, whatever. And it's like, to me, I'm not, like, making money off of my artwork is fantastic. You know what I'm saying? It's great. There's a million plus sides to it all. You know what I mean? And anybody who is an artist and tells you, oh no, I strictly do it just for the art, they're lying. You know what I mean? They're lying. It's your work. It's your hard work. You should be able to, receive some compensation for it. Don't ever work for free. But in that process, you know what I mean? In the process of being an artist, man, you get blessed a lot. Like people like tune in to your artwork, and they kind of vibe off of you and stuff like that. And so yeah, you give prints away, or you give little knickknacks and stickers and stuff away. You just because whatever, it doesn't matter, right? And for me, it's that, and so my art prints are affordable. They're not $30. There's no like special thing, and oh, you have to pre-order and do this. No, dude, it's like it's there, it's available. Now, yeah, I do specialty things here and there because I want them to be unique. All right, so like the secret menu, whenever the secret menu pops up and there's some prints there, boom, 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 grab them. Because I'm not gonna make them again. But stuff like this, like, yeah, I want everybody to have a print because, like, it's near and dear to everyone's heart. So why are you gonna pay? Why am I gonna capitalize on your nostalgia, right? On my nostalgia, I'm not gonna do that. So, yeah, I keep the prints all the same price. Always the same thing. $15, free shipping. And if you follow me in any way, shape, or form, whether it's on Twitch, whether it's on Twitter X, Xtacion, if you're on Discord, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Instagram, any of those platforms, that you follow About 10 Art, simple, man. You just get an extra print for free. 2 for 1. And so I'm good with that. I'm making money. You're getting an art print. Everybody's happy. That's it. There's nothing else to explain. Nothing else to explain. That's the way I do it. And so I like to, it's the conversational piece. It's the fact that, I can kick it right here with my friends and be like, dude, do you remember freaking, Pinky and the Brain? Do you remember Animaniacs? Do you remember, and it's like, yeah, dude, I remember all that. Like, I love all of that. Samurai Jack. The first time I saw Samurai Jack, I was like, dude, this cartoon is amazing. Saw all of it. You know, Ed and Eddie, same thing. Foster's Home of Imaginary Friends. Like, dude, you know? I'm 48 years old and I still love cartoons to this day. To this day, I still love cartoons, all of it. I mean, yeah, I know, you know, all the modern ones and I know all the old ones too. And so I draw what I like. I draw what I feel in my heart, what I feel in my mind, like what I think about, what I care about. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to create. And so, yeah, I'm here on Twitch. I'm on the live stream, and you guys get a little behind the scenes of what I like to do, what I do. That's it. There's nothing else. Right? Samurai Jack was dope, man, when it first came out. That's why I have a print of Samurai Jack. And so, you know, those are all the things that I love. And you know me, man. You've known me freaking forever. It's like nothing's changed. This is me. So anyways, there you have it. I just wanted to put that out there because, you know, people always ask me, it's like, you could be making so much more money and this and that and blah, blah. And it's like, you know, a million people are going to tell you a million things of how your life should be. You know, how much better you could be if you just took their advice or did this or did that. It's like, I get it, you know, because they care about you. And it's not coming from a malicious point. It's not coming from, you know, something bad. But at the same time, you know, it's like, I may not want that. I may not want that. It's like money, you know, yes, you know, thank the good Lord, knock on wood and everything good. Like, I make money. I'm good. You know, it's like, I'm good. I don't have to worry about it. And that's a beautiful feeling to have inside because a lot of people cannot do that. And for a lot of years, that was me. I was not able to do that. There were many times where I worked 2 jobs, 3 jobs, where I had a job and I had this art hustle and, you know, and so on and so forth. And it's like, I get it. But as time goes by, you start realizing what's more important in your life. And so that's where I'm at. There's a million things that are more important to me right now than money. And so making money off of my artwork, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I'm blessed every day that I make money off of my artwork. But I'm not going to cram my artwork down your throat because I'm not making money. And that's, you know what I mean? How many people can say that? And so, yeah, you know, like I said, I just wanted to put that out there and say, you know, there's no like price of inflation or none of that craziness. It's like, I want everyone to have an equal opportunity to own this artwork just like anybody else, whether you're a billionaire or you're broke. And so there you have it. Those are my 2 cents. Where are they at? Those are my 2 cents. But I mean, I'm being honest, you know, it's like, you know, it's a thing. I see it all the time. Dicev, what's happening, brother? And so, you know, I see it all the time and I don't want to be that person. So, yeah, this Ed and Eddie piece is for all of us, man. It's, you know, it's for all of us. And if you pick it up, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really do. Excuse me, but I'm doing it for all of us. I want all of us to have it. So there you go. That's enough of that. Today we got a video. We're going to go for about an hour. It's 55 minutes and 28 seconds. This is how the U.S. won the space race. This is the Apollo 17 missions. So if you're into that sort of stuff, I'm a big space guy. I love all of it. I love sci-fi. I love science. I love, you know, everything. And so today at work, I had an interesting conversation with someone, and they're going over my artwork, and it's like, dude, like, what are you doing in IT? Like, why are you not working in some art related business? And so I told them, I'm like, look, I'll be honest. I could not settle. I could not settle on just solely working in IT, and I could not settle solely working in art. I've done both in every aspect possible. Everything I set out to do within the IT world, I've done, and in the art world, I've done. So good. I'm good. And the fact that I have this passion for technology and art and the ability to do both for a long, long time, that's what I love. That's what makes me happy. So good, baby. Thank you. Thank you. And so, yeah, and that person was like, all right, I get it. I understand. And I told them I could bounce them back and forth whenever I want. And so, I don't want this to come across as me gloating or flexing on anybody, because I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I have zero room to complain about anything. Nothing. I can't complain about anything. Just because I've been through it all. I've been through the worst parts of life and the best. And so this is what I do. And I the only thing I can do is share it with all of you, whether you like it or not. I mean, if you don't like it, tune out. If you like it, hey, let's vibe, man, and let's be grateful about things that we have in life. Let's be grateful about the things we have in common. That's each other, our friendships, and it's a lot easier to laugh than it is to cry. So, I'm always going to be the forever optimist. I'm going to lift everybody around me up. I'm bringing my friends with me. Just simply because you never know when it's going to be you that needs the lifting, So yeah, there you have it. Without further ado, we're going to work on this Ed and Eddie piece. We're going to knock this bad boy out. And we're going to watch this Apollo 17 space race. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know if any of the audio goes wacky or any of the visuals. You know what I mean? The visuals. I know my tablet wigs out every once in a while, but that's just a connection because I'm connected via Wi-Fi. So if it gets really, really bad, definitely let me know. So hell yeah, brother. Good vibes. All the vibes. So here we go. Science, bro. We're getting all science today. We're close. I know you, Squared, and a few other people have asked about some spooky podcasts and stuff like that. We're almost there. We're almost at the season. You know how I do things. I go the whole year based off of the seasons. And so for me, the haunt season is right around the bend. It hasn't quite started out yet. But I guarantee you I am picking out some really good podcasts for us to hear during the spooky season. And it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. Plus Friday nights. If you haven't been tuning in, I'm telling you and telling all my friends, everybody that watches the replay, spookyshorts.tv. Make sure to follow that on Twitter on Twitter, on Twitch, all the socials. The Squared one, if you could drop a link, that'd be awesome. And make sure to catch us on Friday nights, 8 p.m. We watch horror shorts and we poke fun of each other and try to make each other laugh. It's a good old time. It's a good community, just like here. And, I want to cross-pollinate, which is a very sexy way of saying I support my friends. And so definitely check that out. Friday nights, 8 p.m. here on Twitch, spookyshorts.tv. So, yeah, there you go. All right, let's do this. Here we go.
The greatest technological undertaking
Science.
in the history of mankind.
I believe that this nation should commit itself
JFK.
to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5,
Before the Russians do it.
3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We
Those Russians.
32 minutes past the hour.
32 minutes.
This was the race to space, working to beat the Russians,
It was.
and the enthusiasm was absolutely tremendous.
People were absolutely glued to their televisions. It was a transformative
To their
event in
tellies.
human history.
The Eagle has landed.
They were glued to the phone.
1/5 of humanity watched Neil Armstrong's footsteps in 1969.
There you go. There you go. Nice.
Small step for man,
One giant leap
giant leap
for Godzilla.
For one priceless moment in the whole history of man, all the people on this earth are truly one.
Apparently, there was no women on her.
But only 2 years later, in 1972, public and political interest in Apollo had dwindled.
Uh-oh.
NASA was forced to cancel their last 3 missions,
Oh,
making
no.
Apollo 17 man's final mission to the moon. Astronauts Eugene Cernan, Harrison Schmitt, and Ronald Evans were the 3 brave men chosen to fly NASA's final mission. They have been written up in history books and acknowledged by the space and scientific communities, but have never received the public recognition they truly deserved.
That sucks.
Yet Apollo 17's voyage to the moon was the crowning glory of man's lunar exploration.
Apollo 17 broke so many records.
It's got to be one of the most proud moments of my life, I guarantee you.
The crew spent 3 days on the lunar surface. Their moonwalks lasted 8 hours. They covered a greater distance
8
than
hours?
any other mission.
The scientific legacy of Apollo 17 has been enormous.
Dude, I would be freaking out. 8 hours. Suck, cutie.
I shudder to think really what textbooks have to say even now.
I'm calling the square one cutie. Hey, cutie.
Man, I covered ground like a kangaroo.
Bro, if I was out there on the moon like that for 8 hours, I would be
Apollo 17 did mark
freaking
the end
out.
of an era. Since then, we haven't travelled into space as far.
Apollo 17 is the hidden jewel of the US lunar space program.
Right?
The world knows how the Apollo program began, but very few truly understand how it ended.
There you go.
This is the remarkable story of the determination and courage of a generation. A
So, yeah,
tribute to 3 brave astronauts and the
So you're asking me? I don't want to like keep pausing, but you're asking me? Or you're just asking in general? Do I believe that we went to the moon or we faked it? I believe we went to the moon. Yeah, I believe it's all real. Squared said, I believe we went to the moon, but I also believe some of the footage was staged. Oh, okay, I got you.
The thousands of men and women
I think it's all
during the
correct
final
and real.
days of
I think
NASA's
Stanley
Apollo
Kubrick is
program.
on crack.
Our hero man completed his
Or he
first
was on crack.
exploration of the moon. In the spirit of peace of all mankind.
I think we were in a massive space race with the Russians, and they had the upper hand on a lot of it.
In
And
1961,
yeah,
when
there you
President
have it.
Kennedy launched the Apollo program, the space age was only in its 4th year.
We couldn't let them
The
beat us.
commitment of sending a man across the hostile ocean of space to the moon was bold but necessary. America urgently needed a powerful demonstration of its technological superiority to convince the world that it could still contain the threat of Soviet aggression.
The
I
dude
think the
say
Americans
it.
were
He
very
said it.
confident that they had a much superior system. They were looking towards the Soviet Union as a pretty backwards society. And then all of a sudden, on the 12th of April 1961, Yuri Gagarin became the first human being to orbit the planet. That put the Americans, certainly at a cultural level, into a bit of a panic. It's fair to say that if the Americans had put the first human being into space, then we wouldn't have had the political drive for success that culminated in Project Apollo in the
I think-
1960s.
I think he's correct.
The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, began assembling a task force of 400,000 top scientists and technicians that over the next 7 years
G.I.
would develop the vast spectrum
Joe.
of technologies needed to put a man on the moon.
If
I
you
got involved in
believe.
Apollo principally because of my, I think, obsession with spaceflight. I started with reading Down Daring Eagle like a lot of
That's
people.
all real, bro, right there.
And then there was an advert in the Daily Telegraph which said they were looking for people to work on the Apollo program in the States.
It's all real, mate.
And I thought this was just the bee's knees. So I applied and got the job, and I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. Everybody who worked on Apollo was so enthusiastic.
That
Of
dude
course, it
said
was
the
the
bee's
race to
knees.
space, and it was just magic.
Involvement in the Apollo program
That was awesome.
really a fantastic
You think the
thing.
same? Also the same with nuclear
It
bomb
seemed
footage? That it
almost
was all
anything
fake?
was possible. I worked for Lockheed Electronics Company, and I supported the
You never know.
Guidance and Control Division laboratory. It was exciting at times, it was scary at times, but working on it gave a sense of achievement.
I don't think the government would spend that much money on BS. You know what I mean?
Apollo 11 touched down on the lunar surface, marking man's most significant accomplishment in the history of exploration. Photographs of flags and footprints were beamed around the world. America's prestige
Beamed.
and memory won, and they established themselves as the world's superpower. Politically, the race to beat the Russians to the moon had been won, but NASA's scientific mission was just beginning. Over the next 2 years, their confidence and proficiency in lunar exploration went from strength to strength. But in 1970, despite this monumental achievement, the 10 proposed missions were cut short, making Apollo 17 NASA's final lunar mission.
The public was losing interest because they just saw people going to the moon time and time again, apparently doing the same things, not realizing what science was being done. So with a lack of public interest, the government started to lose interest.
Scientifically, it's a tremendous loss. And had 18, 19 and 20 been allowed to continue, then there's no doubt that our knowledge of the moon and the history of the early solar system would be much bigger now than what it is had those missions continued.
Well,
so scientifically, there was every reason.
Everybody got a theory, you know what I mean?
17 was to be the
Nothing wrong
last
with
visit
that.
to the moon. NASA needed to make it count. NASA's growing confidence in supporting longer operations meant that Apollo 17 would become the most productive lunar mission of the entire program.
Apollo 17 was a mission of superlatives in so many ways, and it broke so many records. The crew spent 3 days on the lunar surface.
3
Their moon
days.
walks lasted 8 hours. They covered a greater distance than any other mission. And yet by December 1972, most of the American
Nobody
public and
cared.
the global public had lost interest completely. So I always think of Apollo 17 as being the hidden jewel of the US lunar space program.
They didn't care, bro.
Apollo 17's
It was
mission
done.
commander was former U.S. Navy pilot and veteran astronaut
Yeah,
Eugene Cernan.
yeah, it's so fake,
One
huh?
of only 3 men
That
who
house?
had voyaged to the moon twice. Cernan first flew on
It's
the Gemini
definitely a
program
model.
and later
Tiny
became the
little-
lunar module
tiny little
pilot
house.
on Apollo 10, the dress rehearsal for the lunar landing, where he flew within 15 kilometers of the surface. Cernan had to wait 3 years and 6 missions until he would fly again and finally set foot on the moon.
Gene Cernan was very good. He was very, very competent, and all these people were so keen to do a good job on the moon. It was really amazing. They really wanted to put our hardware out there and get it working and get
Yep.
the science.
Heck yeah.
Command Module pilot Ronald Evans was selected late into the Apollo program while flying combat missions in Vietnam. Apollo 17 would be his first and only spaceflight.
Oh yeah.
Joe Engle was the proposed
Well-
lunar module pilot. But after Apollo
Yeah,
18
there's
was
a-
canceled, and it became clear that this would be the final lunar mission, the
There's a
scientific
path to
community
follow
pressed NASA to
when it
select a
comes to
scientist
UAP,
astronaut
UFO stuff.
to go to the moon. Engle
So
was
if
dropped
you
from
want to
the
get into
program,
that, just let me know.
and
We can
Harrison
talk.
Schmitt,
We
also
can
known as
talk.
Jack Schmitt, took his place to become the first
Jack
and only
Schmitt.
geologist to step foot on the moon.
The clown.
Jack Schmitt was picked as one of the first 6 original scientist astronauts in 1965.
Right? Before he was a
had
clown, he was an
fanatic
astronaut.
Focus upon Apollo. There were some of his colleagues who doubted that he had any
It's
other
all
life
misdirection,
apart from
huh?
Apollo. But he got himself noticed for the right reasons, totally committed.
Yeah.
Changed geology training for the astronauts.
It's all fake.
Raised the profile of geology within the entire program.
I met Harrison Schmitt on Apollo 15. He was the backup
Apollo
pilot. The
15.
experiments that I was working on had to be exercised by each crew member before we loaded them into the lunar module and sent them off to the moon.
Turn that.
So Harrison
Ooh.
Schmitt came over
All right, we got to turn that
to
one.
have a look at the experiments. and picked up a magnifying glass and he
Experiments.
looked at it and he said, "Do you know what a geologist does when he finds a rock to look at?" And we said, "No." And he said, "He does this." He said, "Have you ever tried doing that in a spacesuit?" But he was a great guy to work with, very easy and very professional, as most of them were.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think it's the government that's saying it, man.
The countdown
Like,
to launch had begun.
for a long time, we wanted the government to admit that they had stuff. Now it's just a matter of catching them in their own BS. It's like, hey, do you have stuff hidden here? No, really? Because this actually exists.
It weighed about 6.8 million pounds. The
Oof.
thrust of the first stage was 7.5 million pounds.
Dang.
Just a really remarkable accomplishment.
That is a big rocket, bro.
The one thing that I don't think anybody in this business ever feels is fear. Otherwise, you would not be out there walking to the rocket. You better have gotten used to that idea a long time ago.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is.
About launch day.
I don't necessarily think that people like trust the government just because they're talking about UFOs.
Once that van drops
I think it's like a matter of like, gotcha, like gotcha. You know what I mean?
Every time you're out there looking at things, there are people all, like ants. They're everywhere, but not that night. And then we went across the catwalk to the command module hatch. It was a steel mesh floor. So walking over, you could look down and see the whole thing. Most everybody gets a little bit of a feeling in their stomach when they do that.
Right? Yeah, bro, I'd be freaking out.
Roger. Flight booster. Go. S4B pre-press complete. Roger. Flight booster. S1C pre-press complete. We're on internal power and we go.
At 12:33 on the morning of December 7th, 1972,
Blast off.
go for launch.
There goes Jack Schmidt into space to scare the crap out of people.
Roger. Flight booster. 20 seconds and counting. S4B pre-press complete. Roger. Flight booster. Go. 15 seconds.
Whoever Roger is.
Internal. 12, 11, 10,
9.
ignition sequence start.
Oof.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. Liftoff.
That is a lot of power right there, my man. Oof.
Apollo 17 was the only night launch of the Saturn V rocket. It turned night into
Saturn
day.
V is the
And even
biggest
from
rocket we've ever
500
made.
miles away, it was incredibly bright in the night sky. And I think it was a fitting end to Project Apollo that night launch really summarized what the whole program was about.
Right?
17 your go. 17 is go. You're looking great. Right on the line.
One of the things that you don't get
That
in
is
training
dope, my man.
is the physical feeling of the launch.
I got a pitch and a roll program and this baby is really going. Roger that. Stand by for mode 1 Bravo.
It's a very heavy, low-frequency vibration. The first thing that I remember thinking was, why did we do all the simulations? Because I couldn't read anything on the video. That vibration was something.
3 Gs. 3.5 Gs.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like laugh so hard, but he's got a point. It's like, can't read any instruments, bro. I'm basically flying on a freaking giant bomb, bro. There it is. There's that classic fake footage right there. The Earth is not round. So dope. That's one thing I would probably pay a lot of money for, just a chance to go into space. Just like, nothing too crazy. I want to see the planet from the same vantage point that, our astronauts and
We had 2 orbits of
everybody sees.
before we were going to restart that third stage rocket that had inserted us into orbit in order to accelerate to 25,000 miles an hour.
Damn.
And go to the moon.
Bro.
We
a distance of 45,000 kilometers, the crew took what is believed to be the most widely distributed photographic image of all time.
The blue dot. Carl Sagan
Famously
made a
known
comment.
as the blue marble,
Yeah.
this incredible image was the first picture of the fully illuminated face of planet Earth.
There you go. Look at that.
We are seeing the Earth as it truly is, a grand
beautiful.
oasis in the vastness of space.
We take
crazy.
our planet for granted, but seeing it like that, sort of isolated from everything, it just gave a different perspective. And I think in
Right.
some ways it almost stimulated the environmental movement. We saw our planet as a whole, and we saw it as vulnerable.
It looks flat. Well, it is. Like if you get a coin and you flip it like that, it's flat, right?
Arguments are between nations. We're just all on this big spaceship together, and we better get along.
Spaceship Earth.
No human being has since been at a distance where taking a whole Earth photograph like this has been possible. Exactly which of the Apollo crew took this amazing image is unclear, but like so many other aspects of the Apollo
don't matter.
program, this breathtaking photograph changed our perception of our beautiful planet forever.
It don't matter who took the photo, bro.
Apollo 17's landing site was a small valley located in the Taurus-Latroux region. Taurus-Latroux sits close to the edge of an impact basin. This vast basin was formed about 3.9 billion years ago as a result of a comet or asteroid collision.
Damn.
The site's geological significance was of great interest to NASA.
Taurus-Latroux was chosen as a landing site for the last Apollo mission because it was a mixture of highland and lowland terrain. And of course they had a geologist as the principal investigator, if you like, on the mission itself. And I guess he was in his element driving around the moon's surface.
So wild, bro.
After 4 days and traveling 380,000 kilometers, the crew of Apollo 17
Kilometers.
began orbiting the moon.
Kilometers.
We, as human beings, committed ourselves to a gravitational field of another planet. And that was the first time. Apollo was the first time that human beings did that. There was no absolute guarantee that you were going to return. But it broke that bond with the Earth that ultimately, I'm sure, will lead humans on a path to the settlement away from our Earth.
Away from our Earth, huh?
Command Module pilot Ronald Evans stayed in lunar orbit conducting experiments, while Eugene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt descended to the surface to complete their research.
Okay, 1510, entered. 42 degrees, 47 now. 47 degrees through 49 degrees.
Okay, all flight controllers, gonna go for landing. Retro, go. Rhino, go. Guys, go. Control, go. Telcom, go. GNC, go. Ecom, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're go for landing. Dellinger, you're go for landing.
Go for landing.
I'll give it to you. Oh, are we coming in? Oh, baby.
There's the Eagle.
It's so hard to describe. It's incredible.
The lunar module pilot doesn't get to look outside very much.
Yeah.
My job was to make sure that the commander had information off the computer that would tell him where he was going and gave him information as we got closer and closer to the surface on what his velocity rates were.
It was Warner Brothers, bro. They filmed all that.
For pitch over. We're level with the top of the Mesquite now.
Roger.
I'm kidding.
Stand by for pitch over, Jack.
That's all actual NASA footage.
Proceeded. And there it is, Houston. There's Camelot. Wide on target. I see it. We got them all. 42 degrees, 37 degrees, to 5,500. 38 degrees. 3,000 feet. 53 degrees. Okay, I've got Barre, I've got Poppy, I've got the triangle. Fuel is good.
It's got the triangle.
1,500 feet. 54 degrees, Gene. Approaching 1,000. Get through 800 feet. H shot's a little high. Yeah, I don't need the numbers anymore. Okay, you're 31 feet per second, going down to 500. That's a little high, Gino. Okay. Going down at 5. It feels good. 110 feet. Stand by for some dust.
Here we go.
Little forward, G. Getting a little dust. You're at 60 feet. Going down about 2. Very little dust. Very little dust. 40 feet. Going down at 3.
That was part of the biggest problem they faced, is that they were going to get
down at 2.
dust, like, kick up and cover the footage. You could see it, like
10 feet. Contact.
Touchdown.
Engine stopped. Engine arm. Proceed. Command override off. Boat control ahead. Hold. Pings auto.
Touchdown, baby. Welcome to the moon.
Okay, Houston, the Challenger has landed.
Hell yeah.
You can tell America that
Touchdown.
Baggage down here, that's super.
All of those dudes were nervous as hell, smoking a million cigarettes.
The lunar module Challenger touched down on a moon surface.
There goes $1 million right there. $1 billion, maybe.
As I step off at the surface at Taurus Littrow, we'd like to dedicate the first steps of Apollo 17 to all those who made it possible.
There you go.
We thank you very much.
Don't show the footage of the aliens on the moon.
This has got to be one of the most proud moments of my life, I guarantee you. Okay, Jack. How about the flag right over here in this little mound?
And they don't throw up.
Right there. Watch your fingers.
Be like,
I don't know how far we can throw, but I think you hit something solid with that one. No, it was still going. Yeah, but did you ever see it vibrate like that? I've never put a flag up in the moon before. What? Pull that in. You're gonna have to get it down to my level.
that is like so American right there.
All alike.
You're trashing your buddy.
That's what it looks like it's waving in the breeze. Yes, sir. How about right there? It does wave when you do that.
Oh, don't say that. They're gonna think you're lying.
We got a beautiful picture of you guys up down there. Let me tell you, Bob, this flag is a beautiful picture.
My first concern stepping on the moon was to stay with the timeline. And as I came down the ladder, I was thinking of how we get maximum use of the time that was available. I had made a calculation at the time. I have no idea whether it was right or not, but that time on the moon was worth about $1 million a man-minute.
Oof.
And that got my attention. And those were dollars.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How's the TV working? Beautiful. Guess you believe we're here now, huh?
Now we believe you're here. To coin a phrase, it's a panoramic scene of beauty.
Come on now, Bob. Hey, Bob, what do you think of the terrain?
Looks flat. Looks very flat and smooth.
That's why you're an astronomer.
Of course it's flat. The studio floor is flat.
For the first half hour or so, I was in very familiar territory because I was primarily looking at the lunar module. I was
Concrete.
working around it. We were unloading things that we would need, including the roving vehicle and things like that. When I first had a chance to move away from the spacecraft, my first duty was to go to parts of an equilateral triangle around the lunar module and take a set of pictures that would give as much of a pristine view of the landing site as we could. And that was the first time I had a chance to really see the lunar module in the context of this place where we had landed.
Oh, wow.
Taurus Littrow.
That's wicked.
Mountain valley, deeper than the Grand Canyon, as a matter of fact. The mountains on either side rose to 6,000 and 7,000 feet above the valley floor, and were brilliantly illuminated by a sun as bright as one that you can imagine, either in high snowfields or in the desert. But
wow.
they were silhouetted against a black sky.
Yeah, turn the studio fan off.
That's what you cannot get from pictures.
It's making the flag wave.
Which doesn't give you the contrast that the eye sees when you're there.
That's wild, man.
Torres Littrow was the most dangerous landing site of the entire Apollo program.
Toulouse-Lautrec.
Although the risks taken to land in the Torres Littrow Valley were great, the payoff was the opportunity to sample a larger and more diverse selection of geological material than ever before.
Boy, is that pretty inside. Woo! We haven't seen anything like this. I haven't. Unless you've been holding out on me.
The samples returned would contain rock both older and younger than that of any other Apollo mission.
Torres Littrow Valley was selected because it was a diverse site geologically. Within an easy driving distance of the landing site, there are these highland blocks, the North Massif and the South Massif. These highland blocks were formed as mountains. Orbital imagery based on photographs taken by Apollo 15 had demonstrated the existence of boulders which had rolled down the mountains from high up on the slopes.
They're bloody rocks, mate.
Tracks. And so accessing these boulders that had rolled down the massifs became a high priority. In addition to these boulders, a small fault runs across the valley called the Lee Lincoln Scarp, which it was considered would be of geological interest. And there was a landslide of clearly light-coloured highland material which had fallen off the South Massif mountain and covered the valley floor. So all in all, it was a very geologically diverse valley where a lot could be explored in the time available to the astronauts.
That's why they chose it.
Their lunar roving vehicle.
Got a bag? Got a bag.
Got a bag?
The soil from right underneath the rock.
In addition to their geological studies, Cernan and Schmidt were to perform several experiments. The Apollo Lunar Surface Experiment Package, or ALSEP, contained 4 experiments never before deployed on the moon.
There was a brand new experiment to look at the lunar atmosphere. Now, the lunar atmosphere is a very good vacuum, but there are gases around. And it was a mass spectrometer that could actually detect different kinds of gases.
What?
There was a thing called a gravimeter, which was a very, very sensitive gravity measuring device, trying to measure the moon's gravitational pull and looking for very, very slow moonquakes to see if they existed.
What the hell?
There was the Lunar Ejectron Meteoroid experiment, which was looking for small meteorites coming down and impacting it, dust-sized ones. And then finally, another seismic experiment with explosive charges, which were put out on the lunar surface as they drove around in the rover. And then they were fired later on from the Earth, command
bombs,
when the crew had left. And they sent seismic shocks quite deeply down into the surface so that we could see what the strata was like underneath the surface of the moon.
The totality of scientific instruments and measurements deployed on the moon by Apollo 17, considering it was all done in 3 days and had to be combined with all this driving around and sampling, was really remarkable.
Bloody hell, mate.
The lunar rover was an outstanding vehicle for field exploration. It weighed about 450 Earth pounds without anything on it. It got a little bit heavier as we got on it and put our equipment there. It could go about 6 or 7 miles per hour. Over
400 knots.
Now that doesn't sound like very much, but I'll tell you, remember 1/6 gravity, you hit a bump and you're going to be off the surface a bit. And it does seem
it's like
it's going a lot faster than that. We actually had it up to 18 kilometers an hour, which would be about 12 or 13 miles.
13 miles.
Once, and I think even Gene Cernan regretted going quite that fast. It was
13 miles an hour is fast. Dang.
The rover was a very, very productive vehicle and a tribute to the people who designed and built it.
The crew were on their first extravehicular activity, or EVA, when Cernan brushed against the rover. A hammer in the shin pocket of his spacesuit caught the buggy's rear fender and tore it in half.
Oh,
you won't believe it. There goes a fender. Yeah, Bob, I got a little bit of a problem here. Oh, shoot.
Gene Cernan turned around and just scraped against the fender of the lunar roving vehicle, and it snapped a little bit of it off. Now, we might think that this was no big deal, but we need to remember, on the surface of the moon, this lunar dust used to get absolutely everywhere. With the lunar roving vehicle traveling at about 10 or 11 miles an hour at top speed, it was throwing lunar dust everywhere. Not only would the astronauts get covered with the material, but the material was very dark. Now remember, in an airless environment, if you're exposed to direct sunlight, you're going to heat up massively. It's one of the reasons that the outer layer of the Apollo astronaut suits were white. And so what seems to us on Earth to be a relatively minor issue was going to seriously compromise the potential science that could have been obtained from the rest of the mission.
Well, everything's getting awful dusty. Everything is just full of dust.
With the dust threatening the astronaut's safety,
damn, that sucks.
Done. In spite of his thick gloves, Gene Cernan managed to unroll and tear off strips of duct tape in an attempt to repair the damaged fender.
Duct tape?
You know how you doing on that fender?
They had duct tape in the 70s, bro. Liar.
That fender stays on. I'm going to take a picture of it. Is that like some sort of mending award? Let's hope. Keep your fingers crossed, and I'll be more careful around the fenders. Okay, copy that.
That's funny.
His quick-fix solution held out. For the next 4 hours, they continued to drive the rover without any problem, stopping to drill holes, collect core samples, and deploy seismic charges.
Right on.
But while on a rough patch of lunar terrain, the fender broke again, and a new problem arose. A thick coating of dark lunar dust began covering the rover's batteries, which were now absorbing the heat from the sun and at risk of overheating.
No bueno.
We got pretty dirty. We cleaned our pressure suits between every EVA, but you could see the scratches on the wrists and on the helmet. Good engineering is going to have to keep the dust out of things. It is very abrasive, but you could still see the scratches. Yours truly, it doesn't prove I was on the moon, but I seem to have had an awful good time while I was there, and not at all bashful about standing around in my underwear.
Back at Houston,
I wouldn't either, bro.
Understood the seriousness of the situation. If they couldn't come up with a solution while Cernan and Schmidt slept, the next day's exploration would be severely inhibited, limiting the astronauts to within walking distance of the lunar module. Apollo 16 commander John Young was on the case.
John Young spent the night working in a spacesuit.
John Young.
Working out a procedure to fix it. And they worked out that they would use an old map that they'd already been using that they didn't need again. They taped it into a curve and then found 2 little clamps which they could use to clamp it to the dust guard.
When the astronauts woke the next morning,
there you go.
Control had instructions for a replacement fender. The new fender held for the rest of the mission, which was to be another 15 hours of EVAs.
Apollo 17's true science potential was saved by duct tape.
That's funny. That is tripped out.
Although the lunar rover allowed the astronauts to cover great distances, they still had to travel on foot when setting up experiments and collecting samples. They quickly became confident moving in the lower gravity of the moon, which is 1/6 of that on Earth.
Oh, bury me not on a lone prairie where the coyotes howl in a willow tree. This is the best way for me to travel, uphill or downhill. What's that? Like this, 2-legged hop, and on level ground I can skip. This 2-legged thing is great. Man, I can cover ground like a kangaroo. Whee!
That's funny.
I was strolling on the moon one day in a merry, merry month of December. Now, May's the month. May, that's right. May is the year of the month.
They did, however, end up with their knees in the dust on more than one occasion.
Okay, yep. Remind me to dust my camera too, will you? Don't forget to dust your camera. I'm gonna get this thing out now that I got it. No. Boys, you know, that's what you call getting down into your work. No, dadgummit. That was Would you cover and help Twinkle Toes, please?
Twinkle toes.
Anytime you felt a little bit homesick, you could look up and see the Earth, only 240,000 miles away. I must say, though,
Unbelievable,
the
man.
communications were outstanding. I never felt isolated on the moon at all.
Unbelievable.
During their second EVA, the crew visited a crater named Shorty Crater. Shorty had excited scientists back on Earth, as it's surrounded by a halo of soil that is significantly darker than the general terrain. After the 7-kilometer drive to Shorty Crater, Harrison Schmitt looked to the soil stirred up by his feet. He found what is considered to be one of the most significant of all Apollo's discoveries.
Oh, hey! There is orange soil. Well, don't move it till I see it. It's all over. Orange. Don't move it till I see it. I've stirred it up with my feet. Hey, it is! I can see it from here. It's orange.
You know, there's a stereotype about science as being dull and unemotional. I think the story of the orange soil on Apollo 17 just blows that myth to pieces, because when you look at the pictures of the moon, they could be color pictures, but the moon looks pretty gray. And then all of a sudden, on Apollo 17, in this monochrome landscape, you've got bright orange soil appearing. Now, when this was reported, you can hear it in the voices back in the
It's like
control.
iron oxide, maybe?
Orange soil, there's excitement, and I'll never forget that there's one of the geologists supporting the mission, and he is almost shaking with excitement.
Fantastic, sports fans. I've got my tools of the trade right here.
The significance of this was that the orange soil, it was thought, could be evidence of volcanic activity. Now, this landing site had been chosen specifically to try and look for evidence of volcanic activity. So it's, I think the words that Jack Schmitt used were, I think we found what we were looking for.
Oh, man, that's incredible. Jack, that is really orange.
When analysed through a microscope, the coloured soil turns out to be made of tiny, tens of micron-sized orange glass beads that's been erupted in a fire fountaining eruption in the Taurus Littrow Valley. The orange glasses are, in fact, the youngest samples found in the Taurus Littrow Valley, but they're still 3.6 thousand million years old.
Jeez.
The moon seems to be so dry, it had been assumed that the primary volatile responsible for driving these fire fountainings was carbon dioxide gas. But evidence has been found that some of the volatiles responsible for driving this volcanism may have been water after all. And so these glasses are still, 40 years on, actively at the centre of lunar science today.
Dang.
And as I step out onto the plains of Taurus Littrow. Oh, what a nice day. Oh, funny, there's not a
Oh,
cloud
what a
sky
night.
except in the Earth.
The astronauts' third and final EVA provided an opportunity to study the large boulders that had rolled down the north wall of the Taurus Littrow Valley.
This large boulder had rolled down the North Massif about 1.5 kilometers. I'm there for scale. It hit a change in slope and broke into 5 pieces there and stopped. And it has told us a great deal about the nature of these huge impacts that have occurred on the moon and before that occurred on the Earth.
Holy smoly! Why are we on a slope? You okay? It's one of the blue-gray rocks, Bob, and it's got a light-colored fragment that runs the full height of it, about 1.5 meters thick, and then it's got a blue-gray rock on the other side. Okay. Here I am, folks, in the middle of a boulder field, just minding my own business.
These guys crack me up, man. So funny.
In orbit, Ron Evans conducted extensive experiments from the command module America, charting the lunar surface using a panoramic camera and laser altimeter. Used in conjunction with other scientific instrumentation, Evans collected more information for accurately mapping the surface of the moon. The invaluable images and data collected by Apollo are still widely used by research scientists and astronomers today.
Ron Evans seemed to have a lot of fun while he was alone up there. One of the problems with the source of our water was that a little bit of hydrogen would leak into the water. And here, Ron has worked that hydrogen into a bubble so that he could take it back and demonstrate they had missed getting that hydrogen. The reason it was important to us is that, you know, what goes in must come out, and much to the discomfort of your crewmates.
Before leaving for the moon, Cernan made a very special promise to his daughter. He told her that he would write her initials in the lunar dust, making her the only little girl on Earth to have her name on the moon.
That's dope.
Just before Apollo 17 left the moon, Cernan took a moment to kneel and with a single finger wrote his daughter Tracy's initials, TDC, in the lunar dust, knowing those 3 letters would remain there undisturbed for millions of years.
It's a rock composed of many fragments of many sizes and many shapes. When we return this rock, or some of the others like it to Houston, we'd like to share a piece of this rock with so many of the countries throughout the world. We hope that this will be a symbol of what our feelings are, what the feelings of the Apollo program are, and a symbol of mankind that we can live in peace and harmony in the future.
Hell yeah.
Apollo 17 was a record-breaking mission. During their 3 days on the moon, Eugene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt completed 22 hours of lunar exploration and research, more than any other Apollo mission that had gone before. They had driven a total of 34 kilometers through the Taurus-Latreille Valley and positioned the most comprehensive set of instruments ever deployed on the lunar surface. They had collected and documented over 110 kilograms of moon rock and soil and taken over 2,400 photographs. But now, it was time to go home. In their final moments on the moon, Harrison Schmitt made a rather unusual request.
Oh,
It's an
yeah?
interesting scene from the last
Color
moments
equals
of the
aliens, huh?
final EVA on the surface of the moon in Apollo 17, and it was Jack
not
Schmitt
wrong.
and his hammer throwing. Now, I'm not sure if this is a geologist tradition or it was just a Jack Schmitt tradition, but when you look at the footage, you can see that Gene Cernan's getting ready to throw it, and Jack really wants to throw it, and Gene Cernan, almost as a recognition of the great work that he's done, says, "Okay, Jack, you go ahead and do it," and you see him throwing it away.
Let me throw the hammer, please. It's all yours. A hammer thrower, you're a geologist, you ought to be able to throw it. You ready? Go ahead. You ready for this? Yeah. Don't hit the lamp. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. Looked like it was going 1,000,000 miles, didn't it?
Yeah?
I
We
think
left trash on the moon.
that it may well
No, I'm
have
just
been
kidding.
an old geologist tradition. I know that a definite geologist tradition is a tradition of rolling pebbles or rolling boulders.
Yeah.
Go, roll. Look, I would roll on this slope. Why don't you? The old boulder rolling trick. Don't hit the rover.
Jack Schmitt indulged that, and he also got Gene Cernan to do that as well, and they did do their rock rolling on the surface of the moon during Apollo 17.
The pressure of producing the speech to draw to an end the first set of manned explorations on the moon fell on mission commander Eugene Cernan. He had prayed that when the time came, he would find words of power and purpose. As he surveyed the lunar landscape for the very last time, he simply spoke from the heart and closed a chapter of human courage, ingenuity, and discovery.
We'd like to uncover a plaque that has been on the VEGGIES spacecraft that we have climbed down many times over the last 3 days. So that when this plaque is seen again by others who come, they will know where it all started. Here, man completed his first exploration of the moon, December 1972 AD. May the spirit of peace in which we came be reflected in the lives of all mankind. This is our commemoration that will be here until someone like us So some of you out there who are the promise of the future, come back to read it again and to further the exploration and the meaning of Apollo.
Back on Earth at Mission Control, Ed Fendell, who had been responsible for remotely operating the lunar cameras during Apollo 17, was
It's pretty
poised to
wild,
capture
man.
the one shot that had eluded NASA over the previous 5 missions. A clean view of the lunar module takeoff. This would be the last chance to get this elusive shot. With a 6-second signal delay, Fendell had to correctly time the movement of the camera with the flight path of the lunar module in advance. The results were truly spectacular.
99, proceeded, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Right away, Houston. Vector grid. Mag start.
That's the fake one. That's the studio one. Cause what? Somebody stayed behind in the moon?
Good to see you. Good to have you all back up here. It's been a good trip. Man, that Challenger's a beautiful vehicle. You betcha.
Crazy, man. The last mission to the moon.
Following the rendezvous and docking with Ron Evans in the command module, the crew proceeded to transfer the precious lunar samples and film.
Yeah, we can totally go back to the moon, but
Spent
nobody's
an
gonna believe it.
additional 3 days in lunar orbit, conducting yet more orbital science, and they would be the last men to witness the famous Earthrise.
Nice.
We leave the moon in force literal. We leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return. With speed and hope for all mankind.
Whoa.
Godspeed the crew of Apollo 17.
I should fix this. Sorry. I'm so sorry, man. I just noticed that. It was going over the chat.
On the return journey, Ron Evans had the chance to complete an EVA of his own.
There's our
Leaving the
Ed and
safety of
Eddie.
the command module, he ventured on a spacewalk to retrieve vital film from the onboard external cameras.
Luna, am I clear? You're clear, babe, go. Am I on the tube?
That's
Yeah.
affirmative.
You're clear, bro.
Quality picture, Ron.
Okay.
All good. Sorry, I'm taking screenshots so I can make a thumbnail.
We've entered the Earth's atmosphere. Our actual
Who's your favorite Ed? Hit me up.
at 7
Let me see.
gravity, just for an instant, because we wanted to be sure, of course, we were captured in the atmosphere. The command module actually was flown by the computer at 35,000 miles an hour. Almost anything is going to have lift of some kind if you orient it right. And
Computer?
the
Come on
command
now.
module did.
Nonsense.
At this point, we had gone through the deployment of drogue chutes at 25,000 feet, and then this deployment of the main chutes at about 10,000 feet. And
That's
we were
all
moving
fake.
Down towards the water, I believe, at about 16 feet per second.
Those parachutes are super cool, man. They look like so neat. There it is.
Apollo 17
Back
had
on
been
Earth.
viewed by many cynics as a lackluster mission. But nothing could be further from the truth.
Touchdown.
When the crew finally splashed down in the warm blue waters of the Pacific Ocean, it didn't just signify the closing of the Apollo program, but the true end of an era.
The space
Apollo has
race.
transformed the way we look at the moon. Apollo has transformed our understanding of the moon's importance. There is a treasure trove of discoveries still to be made
Yeah.
from the lunar samples, from the instruments that are still active on the surface of the moon. Yes, it was an incredibly expensive program, but when you've got something which 40 years later is still enabling new scientists to develop new ideas and new theories, then that tells you something about the program's value.
There you go.
It was an
Instruments that are
extraordinary
still on the
period
moon.
in human history. We gained a first order understanding of
Ed
Earth
is your favorite?
for the first time. And what was accomplished by the generation of Apollo does symbolize a great new understanding of what we now know about the early history of the Earth. It symbolizes a new source of resources for the planet, particularly in energy, and it symbolizes a new path to the settlement of our solar system.
It's crazy. Yeah, I got a buddy of mine at work.
Before we went to the moon, all we knew about it was what we could get from telescopes.
Yeah.
Getting to the moon, being able to bring samples back, to be able to make measurements of its atmosphere, its magnetic field.
It's the
what
real
its
deal.
Structure was, taught us a lot, not only about the moon, but how the Earth and the moon were created originally.
Apollo 17 was the culmination of the whole Apollo program, and it put a very satisfactory line under the whole thing, and scientists are still studying the data brought back by the whole program.
Certainly Apollo 17 was the most productive scientifically in terms of samples returned and scientific instruments deployed.
I think Apollo 17 did mark the end of an era. Since then, we haven't travelled into space as far. That impetus to get out there, to almost travel to the stars, has waned.
It told
We've gone beyond the solar system as far as like
It brought everybody together. I think
as far
for
as
the
like
first time, people all over the world
unmanned
were interested in one thing and what was
missions.
going on at that one time.
The Apollo missions have ended, but we need something to take its place and something to inspire people and something to get us, as the human race, out there and beyond.
I agree.
Many believe that a return to the moon holds the key to man's future in space.
We will be going back to the moon. The best move, if we're going to Mars, is to go back to the moon. Because if we can't keep people supported on the moon and keep them in good condition, it's no good going to Mars, because we won't be able to do it when they're a heck of a lot further away.
There you go.
We could go to the moon in the 1960s and 1970s. We could go to the moon now if we had the political willpower and if we decided to put the financing in.
That's the biggest problem. It's like it's just the political
Expected us
stuff.
to be here 4 decades later and still not having seen a return to the moon. But ultimately, the Apollo for our times would be the challenge of getting a human being to Mars. It's not just about exploration, it's about securing the future for humanity.
We go
what
to
human
Mars,
beings
man.
have
That's
done
gonna be
throughout
big.
history. We have been a species that wants to explore, to push forward our frontiers. The Earth is our cradle, but we can't stay in the cradle forever.
Whatever
right.
the future holds, one thing is for sure.
That is right.
Apollo's overwhelming contribution to science has given us a new perspective on the moon, our own unique planet, and the universe beyond.
I
La
was
Luna.
sad that the program came to an end. Obviously, we'd like it to have gone on much longer. But even though Apollo ended and we were sad, we continued with some really exciting work.
It was a fantastic experience. I definitely feel proud that I was part of the Apollo program, even a very minor cog in a big machine. If I had my time again, I most certainly would move heaven and earth to work on something like that again. It was really fun.
I would.
Apollo 17 was a fitting conclusion to a triumphant space program which will inspire future generations for many years to come.
It's crazy, bro.
What NASA achieved in the decade following Kennedy's pledge is a testament to man's ingenuity.
Mankind.
Choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy,
But because they are hard.
Many years ago, the great British explorer George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked why did he want to climb it. He said because it is there. Well, space is there, and we're going to climb it. And the moon and the planets are there. And new hopes for knowledge and peace are there. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked.
It's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. Right on. Super cool, man. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know I did. It's always cool to see, like, you know, fun space stuff like that. I don't know. I dig it. I dig it. And yeah, just like anything, everything has a certain conspiracy. You know, people create conspiracies or latch on to certain conspiracies or whatever the case may be. But it's fun. It's fun to do both. You know what I mean? It's fun to have a conspiracy, and it's fun to, you know, just actually talk about the actual science and talk about the history and everything that went along with it. And so the Apollo program has always been one of those things that I've enjoyed. And, you know, when I see footage from the ISS, it's amazing to me to see, you know, how far we've come. And so I enjoyed that very, very much. But yeah, I'm glad you guys were here to see it with me and just kind of, you know, spend some time. I do have to fix that window. I didn't notice that it had moved somehow, so I do apologize for that. We didn't see it in the big screen. But for the Ed, and Eddie piece, I'm at a point where we can go ahead and import this into Photoshop, add just a couple textures that I like to add my logo, and then I'll go ahead and put it up on my website, and it'll be available for anybody who wants to purchase it and keep it for themselves. So there you have it. Yep, we went a little over an hour, but that's all right. I gotta start doing all my dinner preparations and all kinds of stuff here. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. But thank you everybody for showing up. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. And if you haven't done it already, check out the Discord, because there's a lot of cool stuff on the Discord. I'll go ahead and drop a link to it. It's the B10A Art Discord. So there's a lot of cool things there. If you're an artist, we have a weekly art challenge. No prizes or anything like that. It's just a matter of keeping your art skills up to date with these little challenges that we have. A lot of fun stuff like music and foodies. We also take some selfies, and you know, there's a nice community of people there just hanging out, doing their thing. But we also help a lot of artists, such as myself. I'm an artist. I like to help other artists, and so we talk about you know, art materials, maybe you know, sales that come up for sketchbooks or materials. There's also conventions that we share information so that you could do art shows and stuff like that. So there's a lot of cool stuff to dig into there on my B10A Art Discord. So I invite you all to come in there and just hang out with us and have a good time. So yeah, definitely check that out. But this is where I will say good night. Once again, have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. See you next time. Let's get some outro music.